Welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast. We are glad you're with us. What is it like to become a pilot in your 40s and 50s? The challenges are unique for those of us in midlife, but so are the rewards. Hosts Ben, Brian, and Ted talk learning to fly, growing as pilots, and the joy of flying to destinations. The purpose of the podcast is not to teach, but to share knowledge and experiences of being a midlife pilot. Join the Midlife Pilot community and listen in every week. We are not CFIs or particularly intelligent, so if you want to learn how to fly, talk to anyone else other than the hosts of a podcast. Even this intro was too challenging for us, and we used a robot to do it. Okay, checklists are complete. Let's get the show started.
Hello and welcome to episode 181 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast, where we share the experiences and challenges of flying in midlife. Today, we're going to be talking about ways to be more professional as a pilot, even when not in a professional role. With me today, as always, starting off with the gentleman in Nashville, Tennessee, who has been very busy as of late. And now we can actually officially call him Captain because he has a new certificate. It is our friend flying a Cherokee 180 named Lucy. His name is Brian Siskin. Hello, sir.
What's going on? This is so exciting. I'm glad to have Geek with us here tonight and everything. So I feel like I've seen a lot of you guys lately in real life, which is good. And Ted had other things to do than come down from Portland, 3,000 miles, but I get it. No, but I'm super happy to be here, and I'm excited about this episode.
You and me both. Also joining the aforementioned sport pilot extraordinaire, coming to us from one of the most beautiful cities in this country, Portland, Oregon, the Pacific Northwest, flying a CTLS we like to call the Egg. It's our friend Tedder. How you doing, sir?
Hey, glad to be here. Yeah.
Glad you're with us.
Thanks.
And then as for those that are watching us on YouTube, you can see that we've got a fourth host tonight, a recurring guest. His name is Wendell Geek. He's also known as Wendell, but that got changed when he came across through Ellis Island. They changed his name back to Wendell Geek. He is in the process of acquiring and building a TL Sparker, which we like to call the TJ Hooker, but that's a story for another day. But he also flies a Cherokee 235 is what he likes to refer to it as. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I have survived the onslaught of Brian that I had at my house for several days, and I have come out none the worse for wear.
But there's a ratio there between Brian time and AJ time, right?
That's
so
true.
I was about to bring that up. So to bring everybody up to speed, I'm going to go ahead and say it, Brian. I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but our friend Brian Siskin passed his commercial check ride Friday afternoon. So big crowd noise, big applause. And he invited, Wendell Geek invited myself and Lord Alpha Juliet, who is in the chat, to come up and have dinner with him and his designated private examiner and someone we're hoping to be a future guest on the show, Ron.
Designated pilot examiner.
What did I say?
Private.
Pilot.
And that's a very...
That's a whole nother, you got to have a medical degree to do that. So
that's that terrible, frat boy shirt, the FBI federal body inspector shirt.
Yes.
It's like the designated private.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't give you a discontinuance. They just tell you to cough.
Yeah.
Look the other way and go. Yeah. So we all flew up to the Queen City, Charlotte, which is where Wendell Geek is based out of, and had a great time. And, it was good fellowship. And that's what we're talking about here. And what else? I'm forgetting something.
I just wanted to know if Wendell Geek fumigated the room that I stayed in after I left.
I have not yet.
You might want to go in there with some kind of sage or I don't know, something to just get all the anxiety energy out of the room. Thank you again, Mark. It was very kind of you to have me, and I don't think that I could have done it without you. And also, check rides are hard, and I prepared a lot, and you always, I think we all over prepare, and it was exhausting. You know, it was a lot, but I got through it.
Probably my favorite part of the weekend was the little study sessions that you and I had going back and forth, where, you know, you'd ask questions to me. I don't know how I was being quizzed on this, but it turned out I was being quizzed. And every so often you'd ask me something I didn't know the answer for. And you'd be like, how are you still a commercial pilot? Like, I still am. Says so right here on the certificate.
You pulled that. Yeah, you pulled out your certificate a lot, and I appreciated that. I just found it easier to ask you questions than for you to ask me questions. Because if you ask me questions, then I have to know answers, and I'm not really. I learn more from inquiry, I guess you could say. No, it was really fun, man. We had a good time. So, yeah, and then Ben, while you weren't necessarily doing check ride things.
Nope.
You might as well have been.
Yeah. So I, a couple of weeks ago, decided to purchase a block of 25 hours of multi-time. And while it is a lot of hours, but we did it in 3 days. And this was down in Titusville, Florida, near Cape Canaveral. And it was crazy. We're flying Piper Apaches. This company it's called Time Building Mafia. They have 4 Apaches. One is used for multi-training, and then the other 3 are used for time building. They are doing 100-hour inspections almost once a week. At least every 10 days. It is. And they pair you up with another pilot. Excuse me. One flies safety, the other's under the hood. So we could both log the time. And the MEI's in the back. And if you're not current in a multi, which neither one of us were, I got paired up with this awesome dude from Boston, young guy. And we just had a blast, but they get you current day and night. And these planes, it's the first time that I've ever been in a multi that when I got out of that multi and then got in my airplane went faster because they pull the power back so far. We're running 2,000 RPM and 17 inches of manifold pressure and indicating about 100 miles an hour. And with those power settings, that plane's endurance is about 9.5 hours. Now, we didn't fly 9.5 hours, but the first day was 7.5, flying from Central Florida down to the Keys and over to the West Coast and all the points in between, and came back, got night current the first night, and then went up to St. Simon's and came back. Now, we're not landing at these places. We're just flying over the top of them.
I'm assuming it's all VFR, right?
It is 100% VFR. There is no IFR flying.
You have to do the weird Florida north-south thing?
That's exactly right. We're staying between 7,000 and 11,000. So you don't have to be spot on with those altitudes because all the training traffic is down below and we're staying away from all the commercial traffic is above us. So it's kind of a no man's land, which is perfect for us.
Were you concerned at all about fatigue, flying that many hours and being at higher altitudes?
I was concerned about it. I will say a couple of things. The seats in these planes were awesome, and that makes a really big difference. And also, I want to give a shout out to our friend Gita Brown of the Calm Cockpit podcast. She had some advice that I took. I bought these element powders to put in your water that have a lot of sodium and electrolytes. That really went a long way in helping out. And the need for bathroom breaks. And, we were judicious with our drinking of water. We weren't doing the tactical dehydration. I drank throughout the whole thing. I wouldn't guzzle a bunch, but I'd have, a couple of sips out of my bottle. But here was the schedule. Monday, we took off at 2 p.m. in the afternoon and we landed at midnight, went to bed. The next day we were wheels up at 5 a.m. and flew to 2 p.m. after all that, I felt great. Yes, I was a little tired, and yes, it was fine, but I didn't feel like I was completely wiped out. I didn't feel like I just finished a Czech ride. It was not. And then the third day, we went up at 10 and came back at 2 for a 5-hour session. And it was great. It was an awesome experience. And I like AJ's term for this airplane. It's a flying potato. It's just big and bulky, and it's a tank. It is an absolute tank. Easy to land. We were doing our currency from the right seat. There was no problem whatsoever.
So for those who don't know, we brought up the north-south thing. What is that? Tell us.
Yeah. So we all know in the main part of the U.S., if you're flying on a westerly heading, you fly at even 1,000 feet or even 1,000 plus 500. VFR. And if you're flying easterly, on the right side of the compass, you're flying odd 1,000 plus 500 VFR. In Florida, they do it, but it's north-south. It's north odds, south evens. And I believe it also matters on which coast. Lord Alpha Julia is in the chat. He can probably correct me or tell me there's some other kind of stipulation in there. But so when you're flying north, you're flying at an odd 1,000. And when you're flying south, you're at the even 1,000. There we go. Northeast odd, southwest even.
I was looking at that. It's like Neod Sweven.
Yeah.
What is that? Like, is this a
northeast odd, southwest even?
Is this a Norwegian black metal band I should know about?
And what altitude are the gator boats at? The airboats?
They are, and we spent a lot of time over the Everglades. I'll tell you that right now. Didn't see any boats out there, but yeah, they're still sea level. But it was very. We saw the We saw the
over to that area of Florida.
We flew up past Jacksonville up into the St. Simons area. Florida is just one continuous city, especially when you're on the coast. You see city lights forever. It goes throughout the whole coastline. When we got up into north of Jacksonville, in the Okefenokee swamps there, it's a big black abyss. There's nothing there. One of the other cool things that it did was we flew down to Key West, all the way down to Key West. And for those that are not familiar with that area, there is a restricted area, and they will tell you about it. ATC will tell you about it. But there's an aerostat balloon that has a cable that goes up to 14,000 feet. And so it was only, there's two of them. One of them was already on the ground, but the other one was like at 4,000. It wasn't really that high, but you could see it. It was silver. It was very visible. So I thought that was kind of cool. So it was a great experience. And like I said, flew 5 hours on Wednesday, then get in my plane. I feel like I'm doing 130 knots over the ground and I'm hauling butt. I was like, this is awesome.
It's like, this is the first time I haven't flown at a pitch altitude of 12 degrees.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so I did that Monday, Tuesday, or flew down there on Sunday, flew Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, flew back. On Friday, I fly to Charlotte to have dinner with Brian, fly back. And then on Sunday, I flew to Greenville to have dinner with an old college buddy of mine and flew back. So I was hoping to break the 40-hour mark. Unfortunately, we hit 38.6 in 1 hour, in 1 week. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great week.
I tell you, though, this felt like what it could be as, and this is a great segue, as a professional pilot.
Yep.
When you're flying 7-day week and, you could have 14-hour duty days and you're doing stuff and, I felt like it was really good training. So, but before we get into our topic tonight and our feedback and all the other things, Ted, tell me what you've been up to. And we need to hear from Mark as well.
Yeah. Well, we recorded a double header 2 weeks ago because Ben, you and I were both going to be gone. And I went to New York to catch a couple of Broadway shows. Then I went for business for the second week. But my plane's been an annual for like 5 weeks now. And normally it's in for 2 days. So, but I knew this was going to be the big 1,000-hour annual with the gearbox, and I got some news on the gearbox on how terrible condition it was in. So I'm curious when I see the paperwork what it says, because I just heard it over the phone, but should be getting it back soon, which will be good.
Are you going to have to buy like a Miata for parts?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I was just reading something about engine availability, and it was, it's like, oh yeah, Lakeman got it under a year and blah, blah, blah. And, Rotax is still 24 hours. It's like, yeah. So, but this is just the gearbox, and they have a big TBO on them at 1,000 hours. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah. Be nice to get it back.
Mark is particularly excited about having a Rotax for exactly this kind of reason.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mark, do you want to give us a status update on the TL Sparker?
I have a date. I have a date when I'm going over to the Czech Republic. It is the second week in August, and I'm in the process of looking for and booking flights now.
Nice. So, and how long are you there?
Well, that depends on the scheduling for my wife. She wants to come over and spend some time, but we're trying to see whether or not we overlap or take a week after.
But at a minimum, how long do you have to be?
A minimum is 3 weeks.
Okay.
Minimum is 3 weeks.
I have to ask, and this is not, I don't know how to say this, Mark. I know you to be a very prudent and thoughtful and intelligent person, but I just want to make sure before you go to the Czech Republic, you've sent these people a bunch of money, right?
I have.
Yeah. Was there in any of the emails, was there ever a mention of a Nigerian prince or,
now that you mention it,
He's going to be working on a plane right next to a Nigerian prince.
Yeah, exactly. They did send me pictures of my actual airframe, which was encouraging, right? Because up until that point, I'm like, well, I did send a bunch of money, and I don't have any sort of evidence that it did anything. But seeing the pictures of my actual airframe was an encouraging sign.
Okay. And did they send you a picture of the man from Star Trek sitting in it?
They did not. No, that came
Shatner.
That came via Grok.
Okay,
Grok produced.
I wondered if there was like just a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with Mark H taped onto the frame, so they could use that for anybody else that's given them money. And
yeah.
You guys are such a uplifting bunch. Thank you.
Mark, let me ask you a question, Mark. How long have you known us?
Long enough.
Okay.
Your plane is going to be so awesome, man. I'm so excited for you.
Awesome. So, Brian, we've gotten some feedback from some listeners. I thought maybe we'll move on to that. What do you think?
That sounds great. We've got a shorter one and a longer one. Ted doesn't usually do feedback. Ted, why don't you do first listener feedback?
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Ted, you don't have a cold anymore here.
Yeah, I know. Man, that was rough.
You didn't have to go to the hospital. The last 2 colds that Ted had were just because we did a doubleheader.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Seems like you've been sick forever. Well, at least 2 hours. Yeah. So William C. wrote us, and his home airport is 0 Whiskey 3, which is Harford County in Maryland. I said, forgive me for I have sinned. I flew an hour-long leg in a Piper without switching tanks, landed, and did not fuel the plane. My intention was to fly home on the other tank. Well, I did not switch tanks as intended or follow the checklist, and it was not until I started losing power in the downwind at my home airport that I realized my error. Quickly switched tanks and all was well, but as the saying goes, it's always fuel. On a side note, the plane handled really terribly with 1 full tank and one that was half to nearly empty on the flight home. This should have been my first clue. Man, this is why I say it's always fuel. This is the thing where low wings cannot have a both selector is just insane to me. And yeah.
Also, he admits here, but you got to be on top of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it takes time for the fuel to switch.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you sharing that. Like, this is the thing. I'm not trying to
No, listen, I got into a habit of doing it just innate. It was like a body clock telling me, look at your time en route. Okay, it's time to switch tanks. And I went for a flight maybe 2 weeks ago, and I didn't. And it was a 2.5 hour flight. In our plane, we switched to the right after an hour because of a direct injected engine. Fuel gets returned to the right tank. And so there is an imbalance that's created. And as a result of that, within an hour of flight, we switched to the right only. And I forgot to do that. And so I've reincorporated, I've got an alert set up on my iPad now. I've got 1,350 hours in this airplane, and I still forget to do it from time to time. Yeah. So it's a lesson for us all to learn, to take away from.
I have a 30-minute timer on mine, and I always check it, even though 95% of the time I'm running it on both. But I want to keep that habit there.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm maybe a little hypocritical about that, but I think it's stupid to do the, gear down and locked and welded and all that, because it's like, it's a fixed gear, And so I feel that way about that, but about fuel, I'm very sensitive about that and making sure that I always check. And part of it is because I do run on one tank some of the time, and I don't want to forget about that.
Yeah. I still do the landing gear down and welded because there's going to be a point where that's a critical thing. But now, all right, we got next feedback. I'll go ahead and get this one. Is that cool?
That's great.
All right, Mark, did you have anything on that last one? The fuel? You have a 235.
No. How many tanks? I have four tanks. I have four tanks, so it's a little bit different. And I will tell you, if you drain the tip tank first and don't realize it, man, the moment, because you're draining so much further out, like 5 gallons out of the tip tank is a big, big deal.
So you notice.
Yeah. And tell me how I know.
Yeah, I tend to like a good time to practice steep turns though.
That's true.
I do 30 minutes if I'm doing a long day or whatever, long flight. I do 30 minutes on whatever tank is the full. They're both full. I do 30 minutes on one and then start doing an hour, and then it kind of keeps them within 5. All right. Next feedback. And thank you for William C. sharing that. I really appreciate it. All right. Ben, Brian, and Ted. Longtime listener, first-time caller, LOL. I cannot thank you enough for the podcast. It has helped me tremendously along my journey. My path has been a bit different. I'm on the helicopter side of the house. So when you talk about chandelles, I thought you were talking about a 60s vocal group. The struggles cross in all airframes in our age group. A little backstory. I took my first flight in a Cessna 172 in college. My roommate was an aviation major. I should have switched majors then, but who knew? And he would offer to fly me home to have dinner with my mom and then fly back to school so he could build hours. I was hooked on GA after that. After a year in college, I joined the military. I was afforded the opportunity to fly on a wide range of military aircraft and always hated when we got dropped off and watched them fly back to base. I had my mind made up that one day I would be the one flying. After the military, I went on to become an RN, mainly in the ICU setting. I spent 34 years in the medical field. I was on the top of my game and trusted with critically ill patients in academic hospital settings. In February 2024, I was able to begin flight training here in Hawaii. My home airport is Papa Hotel Kilo Oscar on the Big Island. My first few flights were humbling and extremely frustrating. And again, this is totally in line with our narrative, right? It's 34 years in the medical field, being an expert in these highly critical situations. And then now you're flying a 172 and you're frustrated and can't function. I went from being very competent and a seasoned nurse to a 0-hour pilot who struggled with basic maneuvers. I am the oldest person at the school and older than most of the other students' parents. So no one to commiserate with. I think a lot of us can relate. Your podcast has helped me know that I am not alone and my struggles are not unique. As of March 30th, 2026, I have graduated the professional helicopter pilot program, with 238 hours of helicopter total time. I had to do that while working 36 hours a week on nights as an RN.
Wow.
All right.
That's amazing, and congratulations. Holy cow.
Yeah. One of the guys who started on the same day I did ended up being my instructor for IFR and CFII. I am currently going through 141 training sessions so I can teach here at the school as a CFII. Please keep up the strong work. To everyone out there, I have two things. One, enjoy the journey. Every day you get to fly is a good day, even if you thought it was the worst flight you have ever flown. Number two, comparison is the thief of joy. Everyone's path is different, and believe me, they probably have struggles that you would never want to have. Fly safe, everyone. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I started at 52 and finished at 54. Scott S. That's awesome. That is so awesome.
That is awesome.
Very, very impressive.
There were multiple times I was on a like wanting to do the cheer thing. And I'm like, I'm on a video. This is an audio podcast. Nobody's going to.
Yeah. Yeah. Scott just realized that we were trying to, it's like trying to learn. It's like trying to scream in a dream. We were trying to cheer for you, but it just wasn't getting out there. No, this is so cool. And I think that people like you becoming instructors is critical for aviation. There needs to be more folks like that that have.
Well, if I may, it's instructors like that to help other midlifers, but also younger people as well. People that are in it for the pure joy of teaching and building a solid foundation for everybody that's starting to learn to fly. We just need a lot more people like that. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. And I love the thing about every day you get to fly is a good day, even if you thought it was the worst flight you've ever flown. And I was reminding myself of that when I was doing check ride prep, because I was doing the classic, I forgot how to fly stuff. I will say though, the check ride prep flight I did with Mark, DPE Mark, DPE geek.
Still not a DPE. Just a gentle reminder.
Oh man. I got such a kick out of the power off 180 that we did and Mark's amusement at the power off 180 that I did during that practice run.
Okay. So I got to tell this story. Brian, this is the last landing of our little practice session after we've been trying to avoid other traffic in between us and the destination we were trying to get to. They seem to be following us. Anyway, it was, we could go do something else and we're coming back and Brian says sort of nonchalantly, I'm going to do a power off 180. And so we're landing on runway 5 at this airport and we've got a pretty hefty crosswind from, I don't know, maybe 310 or so. I mean, it was pretty strong. And so we came on the left base, or, you did the power off 180 and you're like, oh, I'm really getting pushed. I'm getting pushed from behind. And we took quite a bank angle, quite a steep bank angle approaching the runway. And I noticed that
I'm in a slip, like a banking slip. Yeah.
Yes. And I noticed that the airplane that was holding short passed out of view because the roof got in the way.
Isn't that also known as an accelerated stall?
Yeah. And I'm wondering to myself what they thought. I'm wondering, what did it look like to them? Because it must have been something else.
Mark was like, that was wild. That was fun. I like that.
That was fun. I had a great time. That was a blast.
And my favorite thing was you don't want to be the guy of just did a landing and then the guy next to you who's equally experienced, if not lots more in many areas. And he turns to you and Mark, you said, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't have done that.
That's awesome.
It was great. All right.
So we got a review.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I take that?
Hit it.
This comes to us from a person who goes by Pulling Pitch 52, 5 stars, and it's The title is A Must for Us Older Pilots. As they often say, the struggle is real for us older pilots. The podcast has created a space that shares the struggles we face as midlife pilots. It definitely helped me through achieving my certificates and being patient throughout the process. This is a must-listen podcast, even if you're not flying. There are some good dad jokes and references to the 80s that bring back memories. Thanks, Ben, Brian, and Ted.
And Mark.
And Mark. Yes, very good.
That's good stuff. Yeah, and as far as 80s references, when I saw this, I just thought, what is the 80s reference I can make for this show? And I was just thinking about as much as time as I've spent in the FARs, the regulations lately. I always get 91-205 conflated with 90125 from the album, the Yes album that was famous for Owner of a Lonely Heart and whatnot in that time period we call the 80s. So I'm just like, I mean, as far as equipment, you need to look in 90125. I get that constantly screwed up.
Under subsection Owner of a Lonely Heart.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We're going to bang through this housekeeping real fast because we haven't even gotten into our topic yet. But you know what? Yeah. We haven't seen each other in a couple of weeks, so we're just having at it. Okay. It's fun. Housekeeping. Join our Patreon community and help us keep the Midlife Pilot podcast ad-free. Your support makes the show possible, and every membership level gets you into our incredibly active Discord community. Our Landomatic members, just $1 a month. That's 25 cents an episode. Get access to the community level Discord channels where pilots connect, share experiences, and support each other. At the Hershey Bar level and above, you'll unlock the full patron channels with expanded access to discussions on instrument training, plane ownership, flight debriefs, safety, career changes, plus exclusive behind-the-scenes content, extended interviews, and deeper conversations we can't share anywhere else. And at the caps available level, you'll get into our Podcast Insiders channel where you can see how the show gets made. Plus, 10% of every dollar goes directly to Freedom Aviation, the network's anti-human trafficking efforts. For everything Midlife Pilot Podcast, to support us on Patreon, send feedback, grab some merch, check out event info, read our blog, and more. Visit midlifepilotpodcast.com. And if you're enjoying the show, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and we'll read it on the air. Then hit subscribe or follow on your podcast app so you never miss an episode. It really helps other midlife pilots find us.
You just fired through that. Yeah.
Wow. That was pretty impressive.
I'm going to cover it.
And I didn't even have my timer.
It was a minute 5. Not full time. Yeah. I'm going to cover Patreon and Discord real quick. We've got some new people that joined us at the Landomatic level. We have David E. At the Hershey Bar level, we have Kevin H., Christopher H., and Nate O. So thank you for joining us. In accomplishments land, because it's been 2 weeks since we actually recorded, there's kind of a big list here, and I'm even ignoring that Brian got his commercial. So our friend Erica got her multi. That's awesome. Hakan had his shortest flight at 15 minutes. It was in the rain, and he realized that his carb heat was stuck, and it was stuck off. So he declared pan because he's in Europe, and they actually use nice phrasing, and did that for his emergency getting back to the field. And he said it was really a damn it moment, referencing Mark, of course. Our friend Gordon had his first Pilots and Paws flight. It was 700 nautical miles, and he shared pictures of himself and the puppies.
Yeah.
So, especially appreciate the picture of the puppies. And Midlife Aviator had their private pilot check ride, or at least the oral section of the private pilot check ride. I don't think that the other part has been finished, or at least I didn't notice it. He had to discontinue that with headset issues, and he said, as a quote here, said, "Thanks to Midlife Pilot Podcast. Words cannot express how your content has supported me through bouts of doubt, resolved confusion, and reduced the strange feeling of solitude I feel with this hobby. I don't know if it's because none of my friends are pilots, or because I've been studying so much that I haven't had time for social life, or both, but I look forward to being able to invite my people up in the air and go on some adventures with my wife." That's pretty much
really
like the ultimate, statement for all of the Midlife Pilot.
By the way, when how sometimes you anticipate what something's going to say before they finish the sentence.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to say, I don't know if it's when he says, I don't know if it's because none of my friends are pilots or because I've lost all of my friends because I became a pilot.
One of both.
I won't stop talking about it. I have no friends. No, that's good.
Wrench 978 did their instrument check ride on St. Thomas. They are a controller in Puerto Rico. And so we've had some nice little conversations about that. And I shout out to a friend of the show, Dominic, who is from Puerto Rico. And we shared notes on that really quick. And I was like, oh, you got to go check this out. You got to see these comments. So that was fun. Checkmate Barry got a shout out on Opposing Bases episode 435. He'd written in with some feedback, and
so we're shouting out other people's
we're
shout outs.
Shouting out a shout out on another podcast. Yes,
I mean, it's an accomplishment. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Our friend Arrow Grizzly saw Top Gun in the theater, 40th anniversary of Top Gun in the theater. So, wow, that's been a while since that one came out. Prescott Flyer got an hour milestone, and so they're looking forward to camping at Osh this year. We should probably start an Osh thread if we haven't already. And our friend Mitch, who's over in Australia, hit an hour milestone and talked about their partner starting to fly with them, starting on a small flight. So That's always great. And then MC Dickinson in Colorado had their first glider flight, showed a picture of that. So that's always fun to see. Looks familiar.
He's always doing something cool.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward to getting back up. I've just been traveling, and I decided I need more sleep than I needed to go out flying. So, yeah.
A lot going on.
Yeah. Ben, you want to take us into the show?
Yeah.
42 minutes into the episode.
Yeah, not that we're counting. Yeah.
Not that we're counting. It's been fun, though. So it's okay. AJ and I flew up to have a celebratory dinner with Brian for his check ride passage, as we mentioned earlier. And on the flight back, the topic of flying like a professional came up. And what spurred the conversation is when I'm flying with other people that I know are pilots, and I can quote unquote have a little bit more fun in the plane. On my takeoff roll, the book says rotate at 71, but at about 65 to 68, I really like to pop the airplane off the runway, and I pull back, and it's a you can feel a little bit. And AJ, not being critical, but knows my aspirations of wanting to be a professional pilot, made a comment to the effect of, when you have passengers on the plane, you might want to fly it off the runway a little bit more. And he was absolutely right to say so. And I do when I'm doing angel flights or freedom aviation flights or flying friends who've never been in an airplane. I'm much smoother on the controls. But it did bring up this whole concept of any of us, whether you want to fly professionally or not, it's always good to be in the habit of being slow and smooth. And what we wanted to talk about tonight was ways in which you can, how did you word this? Fly like it's just your job, because it kind of is, but it's really not. It's very easy to develop bad habits. And it's something that you get yourself in trouble with, quite frankly. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about that tonight.
Yeah.
So, you get your private pilot cert. Nobody handed you a manual on how to actually conduct yourself like a serious pilot. You learned to fly, you passed a check ride, and you went flying. Now you're, oh, wait a minute, I missed that waypoint. I'm going to yank and bank to the right. Or, oh, we need to descend. I'm going to chop and drop. It's fine. You can do it. It's not that big of a deal. But when you start doing that with more and more regularity, I think you're kind of heading down a dangerous path. What do you guys think?
It's hard to quantify this kind of stuff, but it's kind of like when you're, I don't know, if you've built on a house or anything you've ever done, there's 1,000 small decisions that you decide to put extra care and quality into. And on an island, that one decision doesn't necessarily, it feels almost like overkill in your perception on a macro level or whatever for that thing. And then later on, you realize that the overall feeling of solidity and certainty of the construct of whatever you've put together all those thousands of tiny decisions have really amounted to this feeling of quality and goodness, and I think that one of the things that I learned in my training for commercial and my check ride experience is my instructor said, I'm going to, of course, teach you the ACS required maneuvers or things that you need for the check ride. But she said, more importantly, I'm going to teach you how to be a professional and I'm going to teach you how to be a commercial pilot. And I really appreciated that. And I took it very seriously. And I will say that I was probably pushing a little bit more towards, can we just aim at the ACS because budget and time and all of that. And the pragmatism of just let me get this test done. But that was not the way that it went and not the way that it should have gone. So what we did is we put together a list of some things that all of us can consider employing in our flying, whether we're flying professionally or not. I think the pros have a lot that they can teach us. And a lot of the things that we do have come from the pros or from the airlines or from the military or from various things that are above the fray of us bug smasher flying weekend warriors or, people that might fly, 3 or 5 hours a month or, whatever that might be. So we put together a list, and I think that some of these are rooted in some of these very small things that I got in my training that after I went through the training, after I got signed off, after I went through the check ride process, and then learned all of what that is. And I'm going to do a check ride debrief on our Patreon for going down the absolute wormhole of all of that experience. But my training was really good because even though it was maybe a little bit of a packed timeline and I was really aimed at getting something done, there was a lot of lessons along the way for things that just little things I hadn't thought about. So I'll just start off the list with one and you guys tell me what you think.
Yeah.
Because the thing is all of these, if you hear this, if you're listening to this and you hear just one of these things and you go, okay, like I get it, but that's kind of silly, or that's, I don't know, that seems like a lot of hyper focus, or is that really a thing? And you might feel that way with some of these things, but as they add up, it all gets added together. You don't pull the plane off the runway. You don't, and then all of that amounts to a much safer and more professional environment. And that's what we're all after here. So the first thing on the list, and this is one of those things where my instructor taught me this and I just thought, well, okay, and then later on I realized how valuable it is. But she said, do you know where all the fire extinguishers are on the grounds of the airport and in the airport environment? If you're taxiing from the tie downs to Alpha and you have an engine fire breakout, running away from the plane, I suppose, and declaring it the insurance company's problem is not necessarily the best option. That being said, where is the nearest fire extinguisher? And do you know where it is? And could you go get it if you needed to? You could hop out of that plane. It's on fire and you've got to try to get this fire out from outside the plane. The one I have inside the plane is halon. It's not going to do anything, so, anyway, I thought that was a good one. Know where the fire extinguishers are around the airport environment. So if you need one at any time, you've got it.
Yep. The second one I like a lot. It's sterile cockpit during taxi, no chatting, phone checking, and never program the GPS or EFB while taxiing. Finish all avionics setup at the ramp before you move. One thing that I like to do, especially when I'm taking up non-pilot passengers, is at my airport, they're filled as soon as we crank up and I call up ground for taxi. That seems to be the time when questions start. Mm-hmm. And this, that, and the other, which is great. I love that. And what I'll answer the question. And I said, we're going to pull into this little area and I'm going to do what's called the run up. And at that point, what I need you to do, remember your questions, hold them, but wait till we get up in the air. What we need is a sterile cockpit. And we kind of have that type of discussion. I can program my GPS there. I can do everything without any distractions. They understand what's going on. And, I feel like we are all now in a mindset. Oh, okay, this is a safety thing, and we need to do this the right way, and we don't need to distract the pilot. And so I've always felt like that was a great way to handle that.
Yeah, and taxi on the line.
Center line discipline.
Yeah, it's not hard.
No.
One of the other related to sterile cockpit and how important that is in taxi. And it's hard. This is hard, because you get into just recreational situations. You're flying with your friends. This is a really challenging thing. And I'm not here to say that it's got to be this way all the time. But if you're not really striving for these things, then you're not getting better, right? So one of the things that I realized, a little bit of a revelation I had in my training, was about sterile cockpit. You're doing this on taxi, and then it's also obviously, taking off is a critical phase of flight, and that's sterile cockpit as well. And so then the question becomes, when do you lift the ban on talking, and what is that based on? And that could be any number of things that are dynamic. It could be until you're on with approach and settled in. It could be something based on, you're out. It could be out of this environment or clear of this. I don't know. It could be a million things. So I was trying to think of something, this one singular thing that I can always base it on, that I can easily communicate to a non-flying passenger. And what I came up with the sort of conversation that I was having with my instructor is, she had asked me, she said, when do you turn your fuel pump off? And I said, well, it kind of varies actually, because if I go by just the checklist, I turn the fuel pump off while I'm in the climb. But I don't really follow that, because I consider the fuel pump the fuel off switch with a 12-second delay to then start the plane back up. And so how do I feel when I'm going out under the Charlie, trying to get out? I can't get on with Nashville. I can't get a word in edgewise. I'm at 2,300 feet. I'm over nothing but hills and no place to really land that's great. I'm keeping my fuel pump on. And it's not until I get a little bit more altitude or clear of whatever obstacle or thing, and when I demonstrably click a big button that's right in front of everybody to turn that off, then that means that we can talk now. And, there's still the intermittent finger up, we all do. It's such a rude thing. It feels rude, but you're like, it's like you're a judge. But anyway, so fuel pump became my sterile cockpit button. And I just didn't want to have it be where my fuel pump is so procedural that once I'm above 1,200 feet, anywhere that I am, I might be out over water. I might be where there's no place to land. So think about those things. But so dual purpose there.
I want to grab a comment from our friend Checkmate Barry, who said, setting sterile cockpit rules with a plane full of pilots is even more critical.
Yeah.
All I could think of with this is something that's bothered me because it's something that I fail at a lot. Pilots and non, for different reasons. I have a habit of just being chatty and enjoying the conversation we're having. And pretty soon I'm 200 feet off the runway, and we've just been having a great conversation the whole time. And with another pilot, that's when you realize that you shouldn't have been doing that. Not that there were any mistakes, but you've lost some part of your attention. And with non-pilots, the problem is that you don't want to say no because they don't understand how critical it is. So it's a slightly different problem, even though it manifests the same.
Yeah.
I've really struggled with this for the last 6 months or year on this. I don't have an answer for it. I'm just know that I struggle at it.
Yeah.
And Ben, you got something there.
There's an exception for me. When AJ's in the plane with me and he starts to talk on the taxi roll I can't wait to yell out sterile cockpit. I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. He does the same. It's all fun and games. But there's another comment, and we'll continue it on. But Junior Hodes says, flying safely is a requirement. Flying comfortably / smoothly is on us. If you make every passenger nauseous, you have some practicing to do.
Fair enough.
I absolutely agree with that.
All right. Next one.
Yep. Takeoff brief. Every single departure, even at your home airport. I agree with this. I don't always verbalize it when it's just Terry and I or just Evan and I probably should. They've heard it 1,000 times, and I feel like that they know what to expect. But it's more about the routine, in my opinion. Because if I start slacking off and I don't give a takeoff brief, then when else am I going to forget it again? And when else am I going to start? And then eventually I'm going to forget about, do I even need to do a takeoff? Am I even going to look at Google Maps of this area and figure out before my flight where it's going to be a good place to put it down? It's a chain of events that I think that you're preventing happening by doing it every time.
Yeah. Well, and also depending on who you have in the plane with you, and this is certainly part of, I think, being a pilot of any level, is you got to really think about who's in the plane with you and what it might be their reactions or tendencies, and trying to be ahead of those things. And I think that I've had some people with me in the front before where I basically said, look, in the takeoff brief, I use that as an opportunity to explain that if we have an engine failure on takeoff and we're off the runway and we're not high enough yet to turn back, I don't have to tell them about AGL and all these things. I can just say, if we get off the runway and we don't have enough altitude to turn back and land the way that we just came from, I'm just letting you know that we're going to go pretty much straight ahead. And it might seem antithetical to you, but I'm going to be pushing us to go down, not pulling for us to go up, so that they don't have a mortal fear, fight or flight moment from the front seat where they think that I've lost my mind. And now they're going to grab the control and do what they think should be done to save us. Right. So there's just a lot of things like that. Mark, when you flew with me, I said, please take the controls.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that, for what it's worth.
No.
You just said your controls. And I'm like, oh, okay.
There was a part where Mark and I were flying the other day, and neither one of us had controls because we got hit with some, I don't know what that was, man. We got this turbulence that was so out of the blue and so violent that I pretty much almost lost my hand off of the yoke. I was just like, oh my God. Pretty fun flying over there, Mark. But anyway, all right. All right. Number 4, Ted, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this. Number 4 is passenger safety brief before every flight, every time, even with your spouse. You may change, just like you may change the takeoff brief, you may change what you cover depending on the comfort level of the people around you, but there are mandatory things to cover in that. And if you want to be professional, this is how it's done professionally. You talk about emergency exits if you're on an airline, and we should be doing the same for that reason. I always think of flying the RV-12, where you climb onto it forward of the wings, and it's a low wing, but you're forward of the wings. And in an emergency, that's not somewhere I want a passenger to go, is forward. So I always made sure that my briefing covered that, which is climb over the wings. You're going to dent them. It doesn't matter. We're going backward if there's an emergency.
Yeah.
And that to me was kind of the example of why you cover that every time, because you need to be loaded with that, just like you need to be loaded with what you're doing on a takeoff briefing.
Yeah. And by the way, they're saying in here in the chat, the briefing can be scary to new passengers.
Yep.
There are aviation pilot friendly ways to talk about these things. And then there are, I think, ways that you would talk about it with non-flying passengers, and you can still frame the same outcomes and results and expectations without using language or, fearful things.
If
we're bathed in fire,
right.
Yeah.
My flying mentor would tell his passengers that he says, you know why we have these seatbelts, right? And they're like, so we don't die in a crash. He goes, no. So we know where the bodies are when we do crash. They can find them.
Well, so you're saying that's not a good plan?
That is not a good. Well, it depends on who your audience is. It could.
We'll make the next episode. We'll make the next episode like all the things you should not do.
Yeah,
exactly right.
Think about the CFI thing of I expect the engine to fail at any moment after takeoff, and when it does, perhaps you don't verbalize that.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I actually got into trouble with my wife because I had gotten into a habit of taking up non-flying passengers on their first flight. And I was not going through like some of those briefings with them, and because I didn't want to frighten them, or I was sort of dumbing it down as we were doing other things and talk. And so we got to the end of the runway, and I did not do a takeoff brief. And my wife says, "Excuse me, where was that?" And from that point forward, I have always done a takeoff brief because she yelled at me.
We should have done one check ride with her too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So she was very happy at the beach.
Yes. So, all right. Ben, you should get number 5.
Number 5, weight and balance calculation. Every flight, not just when it feels feels close, not quote. I do this I don't do it when I'm flying by myself. That's the only time I don't do it. But I do it whenever I have a passenger, whether it's a pilot or non-pilot, because I want to stay practiced in doing weight and balance calculations. The beast, I know, 400 pounds in the 2 front seats, 400 pounds in the 2 back seats, 125 pounds in the cargo area, and we keep about 15 pounds of stuff back there permanently. So really about 105 pounds or so, give or take, in the cargo. But I do it every single time because guess what? I'm going to start using different airplanes hopefully here in the near future. I flew an Apache. I started doing weight and balance on that. It's just, if nothing else, it's for the practice, because there are going to be those flights where I'm going to get close to the maximum, and I don't want to go over it, and I want to maintain safe. So
yeah, the reason why I wanted you to take that one is because you have the if it fits it ships airplane.
I do, but I will say we've
marked those two.
We've had times where I had to say, we're going to take less fuel, or something that we need to lighten these bags or something. Doesn't mean that it's always going to work. And again, the practice of doing it. Not every plane is a if it fits or ships type plane. So
yeah.
Well, I do it for every flight, if only because I'm petrified of getting ramp checked and not having it.
There you go. Yeah. Yep.
There.
Yeah, or you can just do one and make sure you only carry people that are exactly that weight. You're always in compliance.
He's got a spec sheet that he's taking around to different people. Oh, sorry, you're 2 pounds overweight. Can't take you.
Can I ask? Can I advocate for the advantage of flying alone? Oh.
But and also the sad part about it is with EFBs, how long does it take you to do a weight and balance?
No.
Yeah.
So why not do it? It's so easy.
Yeah, and side note for those that do use an EFB for your weight and balance, it is so important to really know for sure that you are working with a performance profile that is the right one for your aircraft and based on your numbers. Because I think it's amazing how easy it is to mess that up, right? And to just when ForeFlight's throwing you things, you go, "Oh, great! It's already done it for me. I just don't have to." You got to look at that stuff. So,
on the other hand, Brian and I are both fully proficient at hand calculating a weight and balance. Fully proficient.
It's my least favorite thing to do in the world. That was one of the things that I had to go back and revisit at Mark's kitchen table. So that was fun. All right, I'll take the next one here. Number 6, do a post-flight debrief, even solo. One thing you do differently next time. So, I definitely look at, depending on the frequency in which I'm flying. If I'm doing a lot of flying every day, it's kind of hard to do this. But when I have a little space, I debrief every 4 flights. Debrief is very good. Flystow, obviously, we've talked about. Really trying to make sense of determining the fact and fiction between what you think happened and then going to see what really happened is really valuable. And then in terms of what you think you can do better, I would definitely, I mean, even if all you do is just judge your own landing, if you can't remember to do anything else, right? You had to land in order to debrief, as far as my math checks, and you can just sit there and think about that. Like, what could I have done differently in that approach to get what the result that I wanted, or whatever. So, at the worst, debrief your landing is something to do different, but you got to look back at your flights. And I think a lot of people that are private pilots that are just kind of having fun this is certainly not most, but I think there's a lot that don't do a lot of reflection on what you just did. And I think that's huge.
So I film every single one of my flights, and I use the process of editing that film as a review for my flights. And I was editing one of my flights from Lumberton back to Stanley County today, and I realized that my taxi call was Cherokee 9070 Whiskey taxiing to runway 31. I didn't say where from, via what taxiway. Like, I didn't even know I didn't say that until I saw the flight.
Did you put it in an NASA report?
No.
He's going to just submit this podcast for his NASA report. That's going to be his version of it.
That's good though, right? It's sometimes it's just very little things like that you can always do better.
Yeah, I feel like there's something every flight that I mess up on, and if there isn't, I don't think you're paying enough attention. I did have a DPE tell me very pointedly, don't use the comments of your logbook for the place to put the notes about your debriefs. Specifically, she said, don't put anything that you might regret seeing in court later in your logbook. So that's something that you might think about putting elsewhere.
Very good. Should we keep going? How are you guys feeling?
Let's each pick one more, and we'll do a speed round.
Okay. I'll go first. Read one accident report a month. Watching accident videos does not count. Read full briefs. This is, I don't know that I read one a month, but when I am on the Discord server for VAS Aviation, and I get notified when there's a new release. And we all know the majority of his releases are some type of accident. And then I go and look at the Aviation Safety Network's website, and I go look for it. That the VAS Discord server is kind of my notification. Okay, something's happened. Let's go see what it's about. So I do that on a semi-regular basis, and I do find value in that.
Do you go? But have you ever really gone through a full, complete NTSB report?
I did a while back. I haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah. I find it fascinating when you see the amount of information they actually pull together, and you see all the transcripts, and then you read all of the observations and witnesses and all of that, and you can kind of put together your own picture of something. It gives you, I think, a lot of insight on all the ways that you don't want to be that NTSB report, and it serves as motivation to fly like you're professional, even when you're not.
Very cool. Mark,
I can take number 8.
Yeah, why don't you go for it?
Which is give yourself twice as much time as you think you need at the airport. And I wanted to pick this one because I have advertised to all of you that I am the world's slowest pre-flighter. And I cannot believe how much time I end up needing more than I anticipated. And I end up being late. I was late to my commercial check ride because I did not anticipate how much time I needed to set up. One thing that I have started doing that I like was going to the airport the night before and sort of pre-flighting, and then sealing the airplane. This is an idea that came from Seth Lake during our last fly-in.
Yeah, I love that idea of the pre-flight and sealing it. And honestly, it's easier if you have a hangar. You can still do it without, but that is one advantage. One that I've done in different forms is to practice one emergency scenario mentally on every flight, whether that's engine failure, electrical problem, or anything else. I if I have time, I like doing those in real life, actually flying an emergency. That isn't always the case. The more quote unquote professional you are, the less likely it is that you have spare time to be doing that in a flight with passengers, for instance. But it is a good habit to be in, especially when you find yourself flying over unfamiliar terrain or hostile terrain and thinking, okay, what would I do in this situation? It's at night. What would I do if I lost electrical? It's during the day. Where would I go if I was inching out at this moment? And I think maybe especially here in the West, I think about that more.
Yeah. Our friend Erica Gilbert, Aerosafe, is in the chat right now. And I just want to give her a special shout out for passing her multi. She's such a hero, right? For me, at least, it's like, God, I mean.
Congrats. I didn't know this.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
No.
Did you hear earlier on this exact podcast that you're actually on that we mentioned?
Apparently not.
Accomplishment. Yeah.
You know what? I thought it was Aero Grizzly, quite frankly, is what went into the ear and came out. So Aero Safe. Congratulations, Erica. That's very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. And Erica, if you can throw anything in the chat before we get out of here, that's your one thing that is the how to fly like a professional when you're not even a professional. Erica,
she actually did make a comment earlier. I'm gonna put it up there. You weren't paying attention. You didn't see that. Come on, Brian.
Yeah.
I listen to our audience. I just don't read our.
Can we
show
just start? I know we're an hour and 10 in, but can we just start over?
Yeah. Erica says, I like to fly like there's an infant in the back seat. For those who have kids, you'll know what I mean, because their necks aren't strong enough to hold their heads up. You want to be smooth as butter. When AJ and I were flying back, I said, when I have passengers, especially non-pilot passengers, angel flights, etc., I try to fly like I drove when my grandmother was in the backseat of the car. Try to keep it nice and smooth. So saying the same thing.
That's awesome. And by the way, the piece about speed and going slow for a pre-flight or whatever, I cannot recommend enough. We've talked about it at least once on every episode for a while, but for a reason. The Calm Cockpit podcast. I can't say it either. Ben, Calm Cockpit podcast.
Can I also recommend another video? Calm Cockpit was already in our show notes, but I also want to recommend Do Easy from a Mr. Brian Siskind. How fast can you take your time? Do Easy.
Yeah. I just love that whole thing. It's really about intentionality and mindfulness and all these things. And but the Calm Cockpit podcast, Keita Brown, they had it was Brian Schiff and two speeds, slow and screw up. And the whole idea was that it was I forget the context, but it's something around this kind of conscientious objector union-ish kind of, we're going to go as all the operator or all the pilots of the operation or whatever it was. We're all just going to do this, everything as slow as possible. And we're going to, sandbag everything, collectively. And so he said that they were sort of comically going slow, painfully comically going slow with everything. And then they realized that they were still on time. It was just a lot, it was just a lot less stressful.
Right. So
that's the extremely Cliff Notes edited version. Please go listen to the whole episode. It's a great show. So yeah.
All right. Well, y'all ready to wrap it up? Let's remind everybody, we love these reviews. Please leave us a 5-star review on your Apple Podcasts. Hit subscribe or follow or what do you have on your player? It helps us out. And then, that's it, guys. Anything else for the good of the order?
I feel like there's going to be some pretty good bonus content coming here pretty soon. Not necessarily because of me, but because of a lot of things. So get ready. And I think we have a special guest that we're going to be working out for the next episode. So put your seatbelts on. This thing is going to get pulled off of the runway before it's ready.
That's awesome. So tonight, given our topic, this appeared on my Instagram reels. The center line is where professional pilots land. other pilots can land there too. Signing off, episode 181 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast. Goodbye, everybody.